Welcome into the Hot Read Podcast live here on Friday, April the 18th. I am your host, JT Ruhnke, writer and reporter here at the 440 Sports Podcast Network. You can follow me on Twitter at JT_Ruhnke. And that is right, my friends. With just less than a week away from the NFL draft, we are bringing back one of our favorite segments with a familiar face today. It is the Take Purge, the 2025 NFL Draft Edition. Good to be here with, of course, my co-host, as you would have on any Hot Read Happy Hour Friday, Stoney Keeley, editor-in-chief of the Bros Network, one half of Football and Other F Words, and co-writer over at Stacking the Inbox. Stoney, good to see you, but we are also joined by one of the hottest hot takers out there in the Nashville market.
That's right.
Reporter for A to Z Sports, my good friend and former host of this podcast you are watching right now. Boys, how are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty great, JT. Allergies aside, I've never been a big allergy guy, but they are kicking my ass for some reason this week. So if you guys see me like rubbing my nose, muting my mic, stopping my camera, I'm blowing my nose or coughing or something like that. But, no big deal. We just, we grind on. We work through it. We work through the pain. We're playing hurt today.
Is that why you tweeted out on Twitter earlier today that I feel like expletive? SH? Is that what you were feeling like, or is that something different? Do we need to have a little bit of a therapy session? Like
it's part that, and then part just the grind of this draft cycle. Like I got home last night and was like, you know what, we've kind of extended the deadline on the Stacking the Inbox draft guide, so my brain immediately goes to I can get more work done, I can fit more prospects in. And I just sat down and was like, I don't know that I can do it anymore. Like I've just been running so hot for the last month straight that I think like my body is just starting to shut down on me. So got some rest in store for me this weekend.
We are here to carry you through that. Myself and Easton back in the saddle here as well. We will help carry your hardworking body through this show. Easton, how are you doing, my friend? There's a lot of chatter from the chat today.
I see.
By the way, if you are joining us live on Twitter or Facebook and want to join the conversation like Derek, Eddie, Kenneth, Paul, all these guys here in the chat, do us a favor and head on over to the 440 Sports YouTube channel where you can join the conversation, where Derek is saying, the hell is he doing here? Get out. Kenneth saying, I knew Easton would wait for the safety of the purge, I'm assuming, to get all of your takes off of your chest there.
He's saying Paul, I'm scared to compete. Is that what he's saying? That's insane.
I think that is what he's saying. But unlike that, Paul saying he's getting chills from this. Kenneth saying I've been waiting for this.
The appropriate response.
Eddie also enjoying a Hot Read Happy Hour Friday, saying I'm doing shots and purging takes, which is certainly
shots at 5 p.m.
to do that.
Easton, a mark of good mental health, I'd imagine.
Are you in the same boat as Stoney here, or is the grind getting to you, or do you feel as good as ever as we are less than a week away from the draft?
The grind is not getting to me. I feel that's because mainly I am not grinding nearly as hard as Stoney. That's the key, to just not grind hard. So it's turns out you don't get ground down if you don't grind. No, I'm grinding. I'm not grinding in the way that Stoney is grinding the tape and the still doing probably the 400th prospect in the entire class. Not what I am doing. And so I'd imagine better physical and mental shape, but I'm excited to be here for really the episode that let's be honest, I shamelessly invited myself on. It's the only time that I've asked explicitly to be on the show. And you said, okay, because this is such a fun exercise. I love doing it. I loved doing it when I was, still hosting the show with you. And I'm excited to get these takes off my chest. Cause I'm sitting here staring down the document I've been working on all week of my draft purge takes. There's some good ones in here. I'm excited for the siren to ring, for us all to enter a different consciousness, Severance style, to no longer be held responsible for the things that we may or may not say on the show. But if they're correct in the future, we then retcon and say, actually, I was right. That's the whole bit, right?
I'm very glad that you explained that there, and that gave me an idea. Stoney, do you mind telling the good people about our lovely sponsors, M.L.Rose and Sinkers Beverages, as I try to go scrounge up this Take Purge music that I think I still have on my computer here. Do you think you could buy me some time here and tell the lovely people about our sponsors, M.L.Rose and Sinkers Beverages?
Absolutely. Well, we are brought to you today by M.L.Rose Craft Beer and Burgers. And I don't have the ad copy in front of me like JT usually does, but I think I can wing it pretty safely because it is a favorite, a staple of mine in this household. My wife and I are out there like every Friday night at the Mount Juliet location. Fantastic burgers. The menu is diverse. We get, my wife found out a few weeks ago that you can actually sub a grilled chicken breast on any of the burgers at the restaurant, and it's been a game changer for her ever since. Like now she's been trying all the burgers with chicken breasts on them instead of the burger patties, and it's been fantastic. The burger of the month is still the thick boy burger. Fried pickles on a burger, I mean, come on, like we're getting sick over here, but it works, I promise you that. It's a fantastic burger. Great beer selection. Get me a Jackalope Bear Walker every time I'm in there. Pairs nicely with the chicken nachos as well. They're even nice enough to hold the black beans for us because my wife doesn't like the black beans on them. So it's a fantastic spot. Are we still good, JT, or do I still have to keep going? Because I can talk about the Nashville hot cheese curds too. Those are fantastic as well.
We are. I think we're good. That's all I really need. All you really need to know about M.L.Rose, our presenting sponsor. 7 locations in the greater Nashville area, with an 8th soon on the way in East Nashville near Inglewood. And then, of course, Sinkers Beverages, our other lovely sponsor, 4-time Best of Nashville Liquor Store of the Year, and also host of our draft night event next week on Thursday. Full round 1 coverage with reactions and gut takes, just firing from the hip once we have that good food and drink provided by Shotgun Willie's and Sinkers Beverages in our stomachs next week. Remember that you can be there with us as we react to the entirety of the first round of the NFL draft and support a good cause, the Our Kids charity, who are supporting kids in the local Nashville area. Reminder that those tickets are linked in the description below. I found the PNG, but I did not find the actual video. So we're gonna have to.
Can you make the horn noise?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it real quick.
Wow.
Okay,
sounds just like
okay.
it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Okay, so what that is the siren of the Take Purge, that because
I'm still catching heat in the chat already. I've not even said anything and I'm catching heat. This is crazy.
Let's see. Kenneth saying the only place Easton plants a flag is on the fence unless it's the Purge.
That's insane.
Bruce saying don't let this Easton guy talk edge rushers. Jake saying best show of the year. Team Ramrod saying good job, Stoney, on the on the ad read there, and Jake saying I sounded like his newborn. That's exactly what I was going for, Jake. Wow, you're really good at guessing that.
I think Kenneth missed the part where I was like the flag plant guy on Cam Ward's going to be a Titan like 6 weeks ago, but that's all right.
Okay, well we can dilly dally about past takes here, or we can get to some new ones, and I think that's what we can jump into. Once again, like Easton said, none of these things we say right now can be held against us. And with that, do any of you guys want to start it off, or do I just want to get hot and heavy real quick?
I'm ready.
You mind if I maybe lead us off here?
Well, go for it, JT. But
so this is one of my strongest ones here as we begin.
You're not even going to ease us into it. You're just going to throw us in the deep end.
I'm gonna throw us in the deep end
with
my first one, because this is probably my strongest one. If you ain't starting strong, what are you doing? And listen, we've had a lot of talk about what the Titans may do at 35. We've had a lot of talk about this wide receiver class in particular. We've had a lot of talk about Luther Burden III. And I know that he is a polarizing prospect, Stoney or Easton. I know you even tweeted out today, like it's impossible to get a read on like how like NFL teams truly feel about him in this upcoming cycle. But if we're looking at the tape and the fit and the match alone, as I read through Dan Brugler's copy of the Beast last week when it came out.
Oh, I see where this is going.
I got a shiver down my spine when I started to read about Luther Burden's profile, his bio. And
did he remind you of somebody?
He reminded me of somebody in particular who, as I read through his profile, and as I went back and started looking at some of the tape in comparison to reading that profile, I started to I got a little nervous because and the take is, I think Luther Burden's trajectory could be one of Treylon Burks. Now, listen, he's
brother.
not, maybe is not the physical size, the difference in body type is definitely not a comparison. However, when you go back and you read what Dane Brugler had to say about Treylon Burks coming out, and then you read this year's version of the Beast with Luther Burden, the similarities to me are some that I don't know if I can continue to talk about Luther Burden. Here's what Dane Brugler had to say between.
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't put that evil on me.
And there is some people in the chat who are already not happy with that take. Jake saying anger. Stoney saying he's not even saying it, but he's logging off after the first take. Eddie saying going in opposite
on the
direction.
Show that you're currently co-hosting, not saying it on the show. Just
Eddie says Burden is a better wide receiver than Travis Hunter. That we're going different ways. Drew saying it can only go up from here. Listen, Treylon Burks, first team All SEC, led team in receiving, rushing touchdown, set school record with 6 100-yard receiving games. Burden, also first team All SEC, led team in receiving, had a 61-yard rush touchdown, a 3-yard rush touchdown. Treylon Burks, Dane Brugler goes on to say, dangerous with the ball in his hands thanks to his acceleration, vision, and competitiveness, above average body control and ball skills to make impressive adjustments to passes. Brugler goes on this year to say about Luther Burden, dangerous with the ball in his hands and runs with the physicality and contact balance of a running back. Similarities there. Burks helped by high volume of screens and quick targets, 45 of 66 catches in 2021. Burden saw high volume of quick targets and runaway routes to give him catch and run chances, 7.3 career yards after catch per reception. Treylon Burks caught 12 of 18 targets of 20 plus yards in 2021. Burden just 10 catches of 20 yards or more in 2024. Burden was predominantly a slot receiver in offensive coordinator Kirby Moore's motion-heavy scheme. Burks was the slot receiver in offensive coordinator Kendall Briles' up-tempo RPO-based scheme.
Now. That's what it is. It's just all
with 82.9% of his career snaps coming in the slot. He was deployed across the formation to create mismatches and led the Razorbacks in receiving yards each of the past 3 seasons. And then finally, the bottom line here. Burden is still working on his undergrad degree in route setup and separation, but he holds a master's in creating with the ball in his hand because of his explosiveness, speed, and competitiveness. And then with Burks, overall, Burks is an underdeveloped as an outside route runner, but he is a dynamic weapon with the ball in his hands and boasts the unique blend of size, athleticism, and ball skill to develop into a wide receiver 1. And listen, I know it's just that, but I think that when all is said and done, between the character concerns, between the different similarities there with how they were used, the dip, and I understand that Missouri's offense was absolutely abhorrently bad this year, but you look at some of these differences and you hear some of the concerns when you have him on tape, like he does a lot of things well, yards after the catch, but in terms of being a outside receiver and being able to run routes efficiently, he maybe is not that guy. You talk about his maybe less than ideal play strength, kind of what we've come to know of with Treylon Burks, because he has not played well within that body size at the next level. I think I'm just out on Luther Burden because he gives me some shades of Treylon Burks at some times, and I don't know if I can do that to myself again.
JT, I think you're confused is the problem. Let me clear this up for you. The reason why you think Burden sounds a lot like Treylon Burks coming out is because Treylon Burks was the freaking man in college. You just described 2 good receivers. Like, what are we talking about? It didn't work out for Treylon Burks.
And Luther Burden was also coming into this year coming into this year, the man. Like, he is also one of those receivers we thought was going to be top 10, top 15. Like, I'm just saying, like, I know that still this outcome where Luther Burden is just a absolute top tier wide receiver 2, maybe develops into a wide receiver 1 at the next level. But I'm saying, like, there is a lot of similarities to see why this is going to end badly or end poorly. And I think when you put all of those different things in, like, I don't know if he has the exact, I don't know if he has the ability to be a surefire prospect. And I feel like, especially taking him in round 1, like, he may be a little bit more than a gamble, especially even looking at 35. Like, if he is there and the Titans pass on him, I maybe am now in the boat where I'm saying, I get it.
Stoney, he's your wide receiver 1. Defend the man.
Well, I mean, he's the wide receiver 1, not named Travis Hunter.
Of course.
But yeah. I mean, listen, all those stats and everything sound great, JT. You did your research on that front, but the actual tape, watching the actual tape, these are 2 completely different wide receivers. I mean, Treylon Burks, big-bodied, physical guy. Luther Burden is more of the smaller, quick, slot, gadgety kind of guy, has speed for days, good ball tracking ability down the field. The attitudes are completely different as well. What we're hearing about Luther Burden III is that he's too much of a diva, like thought he was above this Missouri offense kind of deal, like deserved the ball more. I want that out of my wide receiver. I haven't heard anything particularly damning about Burden off the field. It's all been about like wanting the ball, his displeasure with that Missouri offense. I kind of want my wide receiver to have a little bit of dog in him, and that's something that I don't know that we ever saw Treylon Burks really grow into. He was more of a break a tackle, run through you kind of guy, didn't possess the type of speed that Burden has. And for me, like, the upside with Burden is much greater than it ever was with Treylon Burks. So I'm, like Coach Will says, I love problematic moms too as well. So I'm on board with Luther Burden III, especially if he slides to 35. Again, presumably the character concerns are on field, not off field criminal stuff like other players in this draft class are dealing with. I just I can't get with this one, but I'm happy for you that you got to get that off your chest, JT.
Thank you, Stoney. I listen, like I said, there's very much a world where this goes the way, but I'm saying that I still think that there is a way that this ends poorly. And that's why he, outside of the character concerns, and you look at the tape in 2024 versus 2023 in that decline, there's a way that this ends poorly.
Of course there is. He's a draft prospect. You can end poorly for literally all of them.
Right. But we are still sitting here today talking about him as if like he is a surefire thing. The net like is going to make the like if he were to go to this this Tennessee Titans team, like the narrative around him is that he and pairing with him with Cam Ward is going to make this like one of the top 10 offenses in the league. Like I just don't I think we're getting too close to saying that he is a surefire thing to make me comfortable with him at 35.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I'm still stuck on Stoney's endorsement of problematic moms, but this works well to slide into my first take, if you don't mind, because I while we're on the topic of Luther Burden, I also have something Burden adjacent here. Mine is not a reflection of my own personal evaluation of Burden. I like Burden. I think that he is easily one of the 4 best receivers in this class. I do see some of the concerns, and I think that of the top 4 or 5 guys, for me, he is definitely the biggest boom bust of them. That part I agree with. I think his upside is arguably at the top of the group, and his downside is probably at the bottom of the group. Like, I think that somebody like Emeka Egbuka is a way safer player. That's all way too serious for this exercise, though. So let's get a little silly. I think that my first take, Purge, is that I think 6 receivers end up going in the first round, despite what we've all been talking about.
Whoa.
And Burden isn't one of them. I think that two of the three following players will, at least two, maybe all three, but at least two of the three following players will be drafted ahead of Luther Burden on draft night. Kyle Williams, Jalen Knoll, Jaden Higgins. I think at least two, but maybe all three of those guys that go before him. I think Burden falls. I think that Burden is there for the Titans at 35, and then he's there again at 36. I think he falls into the 40s. I'm currently writing about this at A to Z Sports, which I mentioned not as an endorsement, but just to mention that like I've been writing it all day and I meant to publish it at like noon, but I keep like not figuring out how to say what I want to say about it and going back to the drawing board because it is so hard to quantify what you referenced earlier, JT, what I tweeted. Like he is easily to me the player because I've had a lot of conversations privately and publicly about him. I know that you guys have as well. Just like we're at the point where we're like trying to look at the cumulative tea leaf reading on every player. Like, what are the last 3 months of research and intel tell us about this guy? And I just keep coming back to Luther Burden as the guy that is the most, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of like little red flags everywhere in terms of trying to figure out where he actually goes. So this is kind of a two for one take because I'm also saying that this wide receiver class ends up going higher than people expect it to, which I think is just a reflection of the way that wide receiver works. Like we were talking this time last year, whether or not Xavier Worthy would be a top, he's going to sneak into the first round, and they ended up being the 5th of 7 receivers that went in the first round. So, and maybe they all come like, 5 of them come in the final 10 or 8 picks of the first round. But I think that it's going to be a run on the position that starts in the late teens, early 20s, and then a bunch come off the board, and Burden is the odd man out of the top guys. And it's like, who's going ahead of Luther Burden? Yeah, that guy is.
Listen, if we're getting into discussion where Jaden Higgins is going ahead of Luther Burden
to the Titans at 35,
I don't know if I could do that. Jaden Higgins is the definition of a wide receiver who looks like he is a Rottweiler out on the field, and then has the aggressiveness of a Chihuahua. Like that dude has
crazy.
No dog in him whatsoever, in my opinion.
You checked the medicals? No dog.
No dog. No
you
dog.
Know, like
in my
Chihuahuas are actually like the most aggressive dogs, right?
Stoney always.
I mean, it's
I know
true.
that was a poor way to say it. Well, let me go. Let's go a Yorkie poo. He's got the dog of a Yorkie poo.
All right.
Let's say he's a Yorkie poo. Is that better?
Sure.
That one has no dog. I know my old neighbors
tough
back
when your
home
metaphors are not animal behaviorally accurate.
I can see where you're coming from though. Like I get that. Now, having what you said, 7 wide receivers,
six
wide receivers, 6 wide receivers go in the first round is pretty crazy to me, considering like I think the ceiling is 3. Because I still don't think that there is that
not
that
including
there is
Travis.
Reality, not including Travis, I guess. If Travis is here, I would say it's 4, because I still think there's a big question on how far does a guy like Matthew Golden or a guy like Tet McMillan fall. Like there are people who are saying stop the silliness. Like these guys are bona fide top 15 wide receivers or top 15 picks. I just don't know if that's like how an NFL team truly feels about them. Like they're still just like in their game. There are things missing to them that make them wide receiver 1s, in my opinion, when you look at the tape. And I think
I agree on that.
To get to 6 and not have Luther Burden there, specifically when you have teams like the Ravens, when you have teams like the Lions, when you have teams like the Chiefs in the back half there, I think would be pretty crazy.
Your captain, Jalen Knoll, I'm surprised that you're not at least a little bit wondering if he could be the like sneaky first rounder. Because here's
I think,
the take I was going to open with.
I think it's one of the 2 slot guys. Like, but like when you said Kyle Williams, I'm like that tracks with where we are, right? The buzz for Kyle Williams has never been higher, with people thinking that he does end up going, top 32.
My general take, like all of my takes are kind of falling under this umbrella that I think after pick at least 20, but maybe like even after pick 10. We have no idea what's going to happen in this draft. Like, I think you could say that about like any draft, I guess, technically, but in this draft in particular, I think it is going to be like, I think mock draft accuracy beyond pick 10 to 15 to maybe 20 is just going to be thrown out the window immediately. And there's going to be a lot of who went that high or who is still on the board throughout the proceedings. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
You think it's 10? I think it could be 7. Tell
maybe.
me right now. Tell me right now what you think the Jets are going to do. I've seen mocks where you can just go any which way with them.
No, I get what you're saying, but even them, it feels like you're doing the traditional mock draft exercise, and it's like, okay, well, there's 2 or 3 players here that they could pick from. But I think once you get to pick 15, pick 20, it's like I could make the case for literally a dozen different players for this team right here.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Stoney, any input on that one?
No, but I can keep it at wide receiver for my first take. I think there will be 4 wide receivers selected in the first round, and I think it will surprise folks that Tet McMillan will not be one of them.
Ooh.
I think Tet McMillan slides out of the first round. His tape is not that great. He has a lot of – listen, I get the ball skills. I get the length. I get the frame, all of that stuff. But something about a guy that is built the way he is and can't body guys up and win above the rim consistently, I don't like it. And he can't compensate for that with speed because he's just not a natural separator on tape. And then – these character concerns about him start floating out there that, well, people don't really know how much he actually loves ball. And I don't hold that clip that went viral recently of him saying that he doesn't watch tape. I don't hold that against him because that clip was from a podcast that he did in 2019 when he was a freshman. Listen, young guy. It's these aggregate accounts that just kind of take this stuff and run with it to get clicks and engagement. It created this perception about T-Mac that I don't think is fair, but I do think it's fair to criticize the tape. And then if you get into the evaluation process from what I've heard, there are valid questions about how hard this guy plays. And when you hear that, you can go back to the tape and you can say, no, I can kind of see it because he should be dominating some of these teams that he's playing, and he just wasn't. I think he went into the season with a lot of hype. I think he certainly looks the part. I think these videos of him at a training facility snatching balls 8 yards away from him, go gadget arms kind of shit, I think that goes viral. It builds this reputation, this perception of the guy, and that's how the hype takes off. But when you really boil it down to studying the game tape, I just don't think he's one of the 32 best players in this draft class. So I think it's going to be I think this is where the rubber meets the road, and people are going to be waking up Friday morning talking about, why is Tet McMillan still available? That sort of thing.
I think that's a very, very hot one. I see where you're coming from, but it just feels like the intangibles there make him one of those players that, just like we talk about with Shamar Stewart on the edge, right? Like a team is going to want to covet that. And so we would have a lot of things to talk about if come Friday morning, Tet McMillan is still available with the Titans picking at 35.
They're taking him.
That is not even a
pass.
Now, you would pass on him still?
At 35?
Yeah.
How
yes,
far?
Absolutely.
Stoney,
what's
how
the
far do
number?
you think?
Where?
Yeah.
Where
How
does
far do you
Stoney
think he
fall?
falls?
Where do I have him on my big board? I've got that open now. I can look at it.
No. Here's the real question. What's the number for Stoney to take him? Titans have a pick at what? And you're like, all right, good value.
He is 41 on my big board. I mean, if you get an extra third, you could throw one at him. I just don't think. I mean, he's one of my few.
I would begrudgingly take him in the third, Stoney Keeley on Tet McMillan.
I'm kind of like plant the flag. I just don't want him at all.
Wow,
man, that is a very interesting one. And so we have two pretty wild. Well, one pretty spicy Luther Burden take. One, I'm on drugs Luther Burden take, and then a absolutely hot and heavy Tet McMillan take right there to start off the show. And we are halfway through. We've only talked about one position.
Stoney's going to look like a genius if this guy blows in the NFL. He's going to look so smart.
I think there's a real there is a real possibility there. Team Ramrod saying JT's take looks pretty mild now. Drew saying Stoney starts hot, banger of a take. There is a lot of different people agreeing and disagreeing here. Kenneth asks, who is your comp NFL comp for him, Stoney? Is he a Quentin Johnston? Like Jake Robertson saying Tet is just another N'Keal Harry to me. I saw someone comp him to a younger Alan Lazard earlier today. Like there are some wild comps to Tet McMillan.
I don't remember what my comp was for him, but it was like if Drake London has no interest in playing football.
Is he a big Drake London? Have we come full circle? Is he just a big Drake London?
Stylistically speaking, yeah.
World's largest man.
I see. Paul saying Stoney just rolled the uranium rod into the room.
Okay. We're all being irradiated.
Love that one. Okay. Do we have any other wide receiver takes? Like any guys that you are just, maybe day 3 guys who you think are just going to go way farther, or we have another guy on this one on the train here where we think they just are going to go a lot lower?
I've got one. I think I think this late push for the Kyle Williams stock is a little overblown. I've heard that a lot of the 30 visits are to check on a potential injury, and it just kind of makes me wonder, like, what's the value really like if there are people that are like, oh, we better get this guy early or he's going to be gone, or if it's more of a like let's kick the tires because we're interested in this guy, but we don't want to waste a 3rd round pick on him if he's hurt. I kind of feel like his stock was appropriate prior to this push.
Would you
as in 4th round?
As in late 3rd, early 4th. I
Wow.
think that range.
Interesting. Kenneth says you stole it, but small purge. People are ignoring the Kyle Williams injury possibility, which is why I agree with you, Easton, to go back to your thing. Like, it should be Jalen Knoll, and Jalen Knoll should be taken in the top 20. But that is
top 20.
Top 20. Hey,
okay.
Hey, do play some good ball. Drew saying, is Savion Williams, wide receiver 5, still going to get a brick thrown at my head?
Yeah.
He is a absolute dice roll to me. Like you
know the thing from Mad Men where it's like, I feel bad for you. They're in the elevator and he goes, I don't think about you at all. That's me with Savion Williams this year. I thought about him a good deal when I first watched him before the Senior Bowl. I texted you guys in a chat where, and I'm like, what's the deal with Savion Williams? And then and then he didn't practice at the Senior Bowl, and then I've just not thought about him the whole time.
I think I'm with you there. Wherever he goes, like someone says, Savion Williams on the right team is a top 5 wide receiver. Sure. But I have no interest in that being on the Tennessee Titans.
There's only room in my heart for one TCU receiver who I love, and that's Jack Betch now.
This is true. That is very true.
Or I have any affection for, that is.
Here's my next take, which I think is also going to be up there. Maybe if you guys thought my last one was I'm absolutely on drugs and just going crazy, this one also might be up there as well. We've talked a lot about how deep that this running back class is. But I don't think that necessarily means that it's good. Like, I just think there's a lot of guys. And so my take is that there's only 3 running backs taken in the top 100 picks.
Whoa! I've heard 10. You think 3?
I think the class could be very much just not it when you look at it. Like, I think there's a real possibility that Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton go. And then one other team that really looks at these running backs wants to take that Jahmyr Gibbs upside swing on a guy like Travion Henderson. But outside of that, you look at Quinshon Judkins, you look at Caleb Johnson, you look at Damian Martinez, you look at Devin Neal. Those are guys who I think just have a lot more flaws than pros to be a 3-down back at the next level in the NFL. And I think if you're looking for that 3-down back type of guy, I have a hard time believing in some of these guys in this class. When you look at a Quinshon Judkins, when you look at a Caleb Williams, when you look at a Devin Neal, for them to be able to obtain that. The only guy that I maybe say there's 4 that go in the top, I think Damian Martinez can be that guy. But I'm just kind of
You've not said Cam Scadaboo's name once in this tirade
because I don't know if his game really translates to the NFL level. What does he do? I think
you can't be an American and dislike Cam Scadaboo. It's not allowed.
I mean that is just propaganda talk at that point right there, because Cam Scadaboo could be a nice role player gadget guy on a team, but I don't think he is at all worthy of being a every down running back. And so like I maybe I'm just like out on this running back class in general.
I actually do like this take because it's actually 2 takes. You don't realize it. It's only 3 running backs in the top 100, and then a record-setting 407 running backs on day 3. It's just nothing but running backs on day 3. It's what is the movie that you love, Stoney? Does it Hundreds of Beavers? It's
Hundreds of Beavers.
It's that, but running backs on day 3.
I like that.
I like Drew in the comments here says Quinshon Judkins RB15 low.
I think he's kind of bad actually, so that's fair.
Like we've been talking about, okay, fine. Like Cam Scatabo, like I don't think like we're talking about Quinshon Judkins as this top 35 guy. Like I don't see him as a top 35 guy. I see him maybe like a team valuing him at like 70, which then I think also pushes a guy like Caleb Johnson down, because I don't think Caleb Johnson should be deserving of this top 35 guy. So then in reality, like you have Cam Scatabo, a Devin Neal, a Damian Martinez, a RJ Harvey, like these guys who I don't know if like, unless you have the right fit for him, these guys have the talent to be, you know, the guy in a backfield for a team. And so I don't know if it's really worth for these teams to be taking a top 100 swing on them.
You guys ever do episodes like segment bits like this where you have stuff written down and somebody else says something and you just quietly like kind of scratch it out of your notes like, well, can't say that anymore? That's me, because I had a what looks like the most mild take ever now written down. 3 running backs go in the first round. Like I was going to start like really.
It's on my paper too.
Okay. So we're polar opposite of JT. I think there are 3 running backs that go in the first round.
Who are your 3, Easton?
The top 3. Yeah,
which are
Henderson, Genty, and Hampton.
Yep, we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
But I to add context,
I do think there's a big drop off after those 3, to be fair, or like relatively big.
To add context to that, I think we saw a bit of a resurgence in running the ball in the NFL last year. Guys like weren't playing in the preseason; they've cut the game short. So like as teams. I don't know if you guys remember going back to like the first quarter of the season, everybody was like, oh, wow, defenses are really good. And wow, teams are running the football again. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's partly an effect of chemistry building, because so much of the preseason has been kind of taken away from these guys. So they're kind of focusing on the bread and butter of the schematics. And so I think you're seeing like teams kind of reevaluate the position, like, well, you know, it's going to help us out if we go get one of these workhorse guys. And I do think there are a ton of running backs in this class that have workhorse potential. I mean, we didn't even mention like Brashard Smith, bunch of different guys in this class. It's very deep, but I look at guys like Genty, Hampton, and Henderson as like bell cow franchise kind of guys that I think teams will say, hey, you know what? Like we're kind of shifting back towards running the ball a little bit more, especially early on. We want a guy that can make plays and control the tempo of the game. So let's be sure that we've got that guy.
I think that's very fair. But I think I can subscribe in this outlandish type of exercise we're doing to say that there is, I think, a little bit more of a drop off in the running back position than we, like Easton said, than we are maybe thinking about. And is that maybe more of a fantasy football-esque thing driven, that these guys are going to be the next bell cows of these teams? Maybe. But like, I think from an NFL solely perspective, like there is a pretty big drop off after Henderson. And I think that's even with Henderson, like you're betting on that upside that he can be, you know, develop into that guy who can be a 3-down back, do everything for you.
I don't like that Coach Wills is doing the math on me in the comments. He says, so Easton has 6 wide receivers and 3 running backs in the first round. It's a quarter of the first round. My Purge takes are not mutually exclusive, my friend. They
once again, everything we say is going to be forgotten after this episode is over. Like you should not be doing any math.
Do not do the math on us in the comments. How dare you? All right,
Stoney, do you have one that you want to get off your chest as well?
Let's see. Yeah, I've got one that I feel like is a deep cut. Once it comes out of my mouth, you guys are going to be like, of course, this is a very Stoney take, but I'm just going to say it. I think Jared Wilson's going to be a first rounder.
Whoa.
top 50 caliber-ish player. But if you really get into the weeds of the center class, there's just no, if you need a guy like week one, if you need somebody that you can plug and play right away, there's nobody in this class except for Jared Wilson. All due respect to all the other guys. And I do think that Gray Zabel is going to be a guard at the NFL level.
Same.
I don't think you have to move him into center. I think he's perfectly fine at guard. But I'm looking at some teams with, I've done the math on this. This is all, me in front of my detective board or whatever with all the strings tied together. You've got teams like the Panthers at 57, the Colts at 45, the Chargers at 55. The Chargers have 10 picks. The Chargers and Panthers both have like stable veteran guys that are aging that don't really have the guy, the heir apparent. It's a weak spot on their offensive line. The Chargers have 10 picks. The Panthers have 9 picks. Both could potentially trade up into the first round to grab their center. I think you also look at a team like the Colts. Tanner Bortolini has kind of slotted in as that center right now. I know that people are high on Tanner Bortolini because he had a great workout at the combine and all that. He flashed some his rookie season, but I don't think he's the player that Jared Wilson is. And then, this is just crazy. The Houston Texans at 25 right now have Jarrett Patterson penciled in as their center. And I like Jarrett Patterson. I was a big Patterson guy at the Senior Bowl, but I think he's better cast as a depth piece along the offensive line. This is a team that has quite a few needs, but they've really got to rebuild that offensive line. And I think it could start reasonably with a Jared Wilson in the middle. And we talk about this class kind of getting off the rails. Nobody knows what's going to happen. This is a position that if you need a guy, there's only one guy in this class, and it might cost a premium to get him. I think he's going to sneak into the first round.
That is a hot take if I've heard one, because like we have not heard anything about outside of like, if you're going to say like Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker, and Gray Zabel, like you've not heard anything about this interior class that is like really, really deep. And Jared Wilson is not
one. Good guard
like,
class.
Yeah. I think that one has some juice to it as well. And he's muted. There you go.
I didn't want to sound like a non-ball knower so I didn't say it out loud. But when you said the name in my head, I said, who? I do know who he is and who he played for. And that's the end of the list of things I know about this player. So I'm taking your word for it.
By the way, that take brought to you by the same guy that said, don't be surprised if Cole Strange goes in the first round.
Wow. I was going to say like flex. That is, I was going to say like that feels like a Cole Strange-esque type pick there where everybody's like, teams are like, we could have got this guy at like 78. We thought we'd get this guy at like 78 and he goes like 25, 26. I
this
think
fits hand in glove with my idea that after 10, it's just going to be the Wild West. So I support it. And I am manifesting the specific take that he goes to the Texans at 25 because that is way more funny than them getting a Emeka Egbuka, which is going to break my heart.
I hope so.
I'm with you there. Easton, do you want to, you got another one that you want to get off your chest?
I would like to, and I'm bending the rules a little bit because this is supposed to be about takes you're not really wanting to say with your chest, but I've not had a chance to say this with my chest, like on the shows at A to Z. It's like I've not really had a chance to really say it. So I'm just going to say it with some bass here. And this is really not, again, I kind of just believe this. And Zach's not here to make fun of me for it, which is even better. I think Alec Umanor is going to be the steal of the draft. I think Kyle Williams fits into that mold of people that are, people are like, oh, he'll be the steal. Like, I think he would have been if he went in the fourth round, but now that he's, I think, like legitimately a second round pick, probably. I think he will be like appropriate for where he's going. A good player, but like a second rounder. What are we talking about? Alec, I think he's worthy of being a second rounder. I think he's gonna be a third or fourth rounder. And I don't really get that, but like you look at the Beast comes out and he's like, player 83 or something on that list. The things that I've heard from around the league, like in the league circles, he's in kind of that 70, 80, 90 range for a lot of teams. I don't know about all of them, and all it takes is one, but we'll see how far he falls. Listen, man, like I can count on one hand the number of players in this receiver class that I'm sure can play X receiver at the next level. Alec is one of them. He's a prototypical NFL build for an outside receiver, 210, 6'2". He's only 21 years old still. He is about as intelligent as a receiver as you're going to find in this class. I mean, quite literally, he went to Stanford. He is one of his give a shit meter is broken. It broke a long time ago. This guy cares so much when you watch him. I've watched more Alec Umanor tape than he's probably a top 5 amount of tape guy I've watched in this class, which is just disgusting because you want to talk about Missouri's offense being awful. Missouri's offense looks like a fine-tuned machine compared to the dreck that they were running over at Stanford. An offense that was quite literally afraid to throw the ball and wasn't sure how to run the ball. So don't ask me what they did. It wasn't much. And so you found there were multiple instances where he was, first of all, he'd get open all the time and it wouldn't matter, which really sucked. But like the proof of concept is there. He's able to separate. He's able to use his big body. He's like a talented contested catch thrower when it's actually thrown within his catch radius, which is quite large, by the way. There are plenty of instances on tape where it's like 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and they're down by 3 scores and they're about to run the same basic run concept that they've tried 4 times already in the game. And it's not worked 4 times already in the game. And he knows it's not going to work. And he's on the boundary and his job is to block. And he has every right, every reason in the world to kind of phone it in. And he decides that he's just going to put a dude in the ground for fun. Like just he gets some sick, twisted pleasure from it, which I love. Again, I think this guy has like coach's favorite player written all over him. I think that he has every physical tool in the world. Is he a little bit stiff? A little bit. Like I'm not saying he's some first round can't miss guy. And like, even though it's not his fault with the offense, in my opinion, largely not his fault, you still have not seen a proof of concept of him being able to literally produce at a super like productive level. So I get that, but I think he's a 2nd round pick. I think he'll end up being a 3rd, maybe 4th round pick. And I think that's crazy. And I think that we might look up and be like, oh my gosh, is he a top 3 receiver from this class? Is he the best receiver from this class? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. I think Alec's the man.
I'm a big fan of him. Yeah. And I think he's got the build and the athleticism to be like a wide receiver 2 in this league for the next decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're not going to hear any complaints from me. If you can get him in the 3rd or 4th, like that is a guy who, if he is still sitting there on late day 2 and the Titans take someone at 35, like he is someone I'm A-okay trading up for in either by way of Will Levis, see you later, or packaging your 103 and another pick to go up to like 87 or not through 90 or something like that. Like I am absolutely on board with that one.
The worst thing about him is that he's from Medicine Hat, Canada, which is a real place.
Oh, he's Canadian? Well, never mind. You know what? That guy is a 6. Yeah, that guy's 6th round pick right there. One more for me here, which with how much drugs I'm taking, which you know is a very big amount according to the chat here. I do think. Let me throw another.
Himself on live television.
Let's stick with these wild amounts of players going of a certain position group in the first round, or not first round. Let's say top 34. I think
you start that whole sentence over so that we understand what the hell.
Here's my take. Okay. I think 5 quarterbacks go in the top 34.
Ooh.
And Jalen Milroe isn't one of them.
Huh.
Doing the math on who you could be talking about. All right, so let's talk about it, kids. Ward and Sanders.
Yes.
And Dart.
Yes.
And Shuck.
Yes.
And Will Howard.
Nope.
Kyle McCord.
Yes. Kyle McCord. I'm coming back in the 11th hour to bang the drum for Kyle McCord. Is just the big playmaking ability that he has, I think, is going to be very, very intriguing for a team. And if we're seeing this much love for a guy like Tyler Shuck, which is, if we are to believe that, and we are to believe that this draft could go any which way, the experience that Kyle McCord has had throughout his career in college, the arm strength and the footwork, I think, is there to make him a competent NFL quarterback. You have to work on his ability to process different defensive schemes. However, like I think if we're talking if we're talking about Tyler Shuck all the way up there at 33, 34, like Kyle McCord definitely deserves to be up in that conversation, especially over a guy like Jalen Milroe, who like, when did Jalen Milroe, like what is this hype? Where is this hype coming from? Like that the NFL is just essentially sending him to the draft to sit there like Will Levis did and go home the next day. Like I do not believe for 1 second that you can convince me Jalen Milroe is going in the top 34. I'm sorry, you just can't. Like I watched him. I've watched the tape. I watched him with my own eyes at the Senior Bowl. Like this guy sucks. Plain out.
It's gonna be so funny when it happens in real life.
I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna crash out on our live stream. And you know what?
Well, then it's happening because he is going. I think
that's where I am on Jalen Milroe. Like I don't think he deserves to be in the top 5 quarterbacks of this draft class, and I think it's going to be crazy when he is taken in that top 34.
So you're telling me the guy that threw 5 interceptions against Pitt is going to be a top 34 player?
Whoa. No, we can't box score because there's context for each of those interceptions. I went and I watched them. There were at least 3 of those that were tipped up off the hands of the wide receiver into the air and came down into the defender.
What about the other 2?
Everybody throws interceptions.
I mean,
against Pitt.
Like I said, he has trouble diagnosing against defenses. Like he led FBS last year in terms of turnover worthy plays. Like he does have that boom bust potential. But like I think people look at the arm and that ability to make big time plays, and I think a team is going to really, really think that's intriguing. That's all.
I do like the idea of. I mean, listen. I'm as drugged out as I think this take is. I'd like for it to happen. It'd be fun, right? I mean, if there were 5 quarterbacks to go in the top 34, that means there. Let's be real. That means there's like at least 3 players that shouldn't be there for the Titans at 35 that will be there for the Titans at 35.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yep.
One of the ones that I wrote down, staying on topic here, is that only 2 quarterbacks are going to go in the first round. I think a lot of the other hype has been agent driven. And I don't think there are, I don't think there are any more than 2 quarterbacks in this class that have first round tape.
That's so sharp from you, Stoney, because that's the second take now that you've given that 2 weeks ago doesn't belong anywhere near a hot takes conversation. It's just like a thing that we all thought.
Yeah.
And you're profiting off of our societal slow, spiral into delusion here at the final hour. That's sharp stuff. That's good podcasting. I have a quarterback one.
Okay.
So I have 2. They're both on the topic of Shadir Sanders. Let's start with the first one. The first one is that Shadir Sanders ends up being quarterback 4. I obviously don't think that this should happen. But just like, what if somebody for some reason falls in love with Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe goes in the first round because he run fast? I don't know. I think that guy that go ahead.
Well, I was going to just add, Easton, I don't know what you're hearing, but I feel like I'm hearing like every day there's a different scout a different analyst with a different source saying that, oh, we like Shedeur. He's a good kid, but we're not sure about everything that comes with him. And I'm starting to kind of think like that's not just, stuff from the message boards. I'm starting to think that that's a real feeling for NFL teams. And if enough of them genuinely feel that way, that to me is the path to what you're talking about here, where he does slide a little bit more than I think his tape should suggest where he goes.
I'm at the point where I'm literally thinking that teams, I don't know, to me, it was for the longest time, it was a tier of Cam Ward and then a clear tier of Shadir Sanders and then a clear tier of the next 2 or maybe 3 guys. And I don't know. And maybe it's this mass psychosis here at the end that's convincing us to think stupid things. But I'm starting to think that Shadir is just in that second tier with like 2 or 3 other guys for most of the teams, if not all of the teams. And it's just like he's one of the pick your flavor guys and not a clear step above them. And if that's the case, then, he could go quarterback 3 or 4. My second Shadir take, which is the way more fun one, I thought of this today. Have you heard of course you have, all the talk, all draft season, very boring conversation, which I don't like and haven't really engaged in. This idea of, you only think Shadir If he was, Shadir Johnson, you wouldn't think he's any good. You only think he's good because of his last name. My take is that, you know what? It is all about the last name. That's why he's going to be awesome. It's because he's Shadir Sanders' son. And just like, screw you, he's a Sanders. It's going to work out because all they do is everything in football that they touch turns to gold. Always, even when they do it in the most controversial and seemingly inefficient way, it still somehow works out for them. For literally decades, this has been the case with the Sanders bloodline. So yeah, he's gonna. Yes, he's not athletic enough to be an NFL quarterback. He's not big enough to be an NFL quarterback. There's nothing to love about him. Fine, I'll grant all of that to you. Guess what? It's still gonna work out because he's a Sanders. It just
I
is.
love that one so much.
He's gonna be legendary because he keeps tweeting it.
Straight fire, Easton.
Yeah. Does that mean that we should be looking at Shiloh as like a top 100% prospect?
Yeah, he's going to work out too somehow. He's going to be in the NFL for 15 years because he's a Sanders.
Yeah, like Christopher says. Like, are we also saying that about Shiloh, or are we?
Well, just wait for Deion Jr. to get of age. It's gonna be crazy.
Deion Jr. I love it. Stoney, do you have one more take that you want to get off your chest here to wrap us up?
Let's see. I have Tyler Shuck QB3. That one's boring. Don't draft James Pierce. That's boring. How about this one? We'll go home on this note. Video games are trash. Complete waste of time. Learn carpentry, grow a garden, do something worthwhile to create something you can actually hold in your hands that something to show for all the time and dedication to something.
Wow, that was very Ron Swanson coded. When you broke out learn carpentry, that was awesome. I love that. that was a top 2, I believe, recommended hobby from Stoney Keeley.
Do you think is that
become a woodworker?
Is that in the realm of that these video games when you're putting in the work, you're getting nothing out of it and it's deteriorating your brain? Like,
well, yeah, I mean, people say like, oh, but video games.
Is that like a message to Cam Ward that maybe he shouldn't be playing Fortnite because he shouldn't have Traylon Burks in his top 4 wide receivers?
Everybody is celebrating him, but I'm gonna be, I'm gonna step in as the voice of reason here and just say, yeah, get off the video games. People like to say, oh, but video games can train your hand-eye coordination. They can build coordination in you. So can picking up a basketball and going outside. Okay.
Stoney Keeley, Jesus Christ, carpentry, and embracing problematic moms.
I think that's the perfect way to end today's take Purge, which
it's true.
Do you guys want me to do the alarm again?
Of course.
Is that Wah! Wah!
It's gone from infant, child, human being to like dying sheep.
I don't know how to do that. But that was the takes that we wanted to get off our chest. Look at that. I don't know about you guys, but I am on board with Luther Burden at 35. I don't know what
my
just
soul
happened,
feels lighter. I feel like I have a little bit of a bounce in my step.
Now I can talk about how much I really do like Luther Burden and how much he's going to be a dog in the NFL and he's going to be very, very good. And so
see, I don't feel better. I still feel violent and petty right now. I want to tell Team Ramrod it's another device for narrative storytelling, Stoney. He tells me, yeah, but so is a book. So is a book.
Yeah, read a book in the shower like Stoney, which we established last year at draft time.
Which good reminder that we did a episode talking draft, naming dudes over on the A to Z Sports YouTube channel earlier this week with Easton, and Zach Lyons was also here. I decided we had that home on A to Z. We brought the home here to the Hot Read podcast to have you guys on. Zach unfortunately could not be here, but that's okay because you can catch us all here. Or not here, but on the Football and Other F Words stream next Saturday when we are live all together again for day 3 of the NFL draft. Also, reminder, if you want to catch me and Stoney live for our full round 1 coverage next Thursday and be there live in person, tickets to that event are down in the description below. All you can eat from Shotgun Willie's Barbecue, all you can drink from Sinkers, as well as our Saturday night live, well, not live for you in person if you were there, off the record Q&A. Yeah, we're gonna be on SNL. We're gonna be doing some SNL skits. Myself, Stoney, Nick Suss, and Paul Kaharski. That's the big thing that's been going on in the background.
Suss literally will. Don't tell him that.
I know that was probably, I said that, and I said I probably shouldn't have said that because now it's going to happen. But there may also be some special guests there as well as we talk some Titans draft content, go through how the draft cycle unfolded for the Tennessee Titans, and have a 5-flight bourbon tasting. You can get the tickets to that in the description of today's episode and all the episodes on the Hot Read podcast feed. Thank you to M.L.Rose and Sinkers Beverages for sponsoring the show as always. And Stoney, we only have 1 episode left before we're all back together for an entire week of NFL draft content. We are getting very close, and we thank you, Easton, for coming back today and being on the show. Stoney, you and I will be back on Tuesday to go over my final iteration of the mock draft 3.0, as well as whatever nuggets we hear from the Titans press conference with Mike Borgonzi, Chad Brinker, and Brian Callahan next week before the draft. And until then, this has been the Hot Read Podcast. Thank you all for listening. We will see you next Tuesday. Have a good weekend, everybody.